So, good morning. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. What brings you here today?
So, since we've been looking at that video about water conservation, I've been a bit curious. I would like to ask you a few questions, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
So, what do you think are the effects of water stress conditions for a long period amount of time, such as to a environment or to a country?
Well, for the environment, the effects of water stress for a long period of time is drought. Drought is a very, very dangerous phenomenon which is happening to a lot of places all around the world. It's when there's a shortage of water and people are fighting for that water. So this will cause uh, environmental damage and the society to be divided.
That was interesting. So, in our country, particularly, since we are an agriculture-based country, which means we do a lot of agriculture practices, how do you think water stress really affects our country?
For our country, what the stress is, I do not think our country has a major water stress problem because for one, our water companies are extremely capable. So all of our water usage around the country are extremely efficient. But in my opinion, the water company at Selangor is doing a very, very bad job. But that is an issue that can be resolved quite easily. Next question.
So, in your opinion, how are we, specifically us, the citizen, how are we contributing to water stress?
Well, I can think of many reasons, but the main reasons that people usually do is they unconsciously waste water by uh, using a lot of water during their shower, and they also during when they're brushing their teeth, they just let the tap water run all the time that they're brushing, and also that that dripping tap. We've all seen taps which has water dripping all over for days, weeks. That is a very major reason why water stress is currently happening.
Okay, so hypothetically, in a perfect situation, if you were the leader of the free world, how would you resolve this issue of water scarcity?
Well, if I were a leader of country at that, I would be a more outgoing, a more creative leader. So I would schedule an event, a fun event, like one event that was held in Mexico where they throw water balloons at each other in the name of uh, realizing that water shortage is a serious issue. So that is how I would might handle the situation.
How do you reckon we can reach this message of water conservation to children?
Well, children are generally fun and very easy to teach. So schools can schedule fun activities. They can bring them to uh, an, a showcase, or they could even bring those kids to places where water shortage is a serious issue. This will instill in those kids' mind that water shortage, water stress is a very serious issue and needs to be looked upon.
For my last question, with our advancement of technology and knowledge, do you think this problem of water scarcity will be an issue in the future? Say, if we could make more efficient programs, could make more efficient mechanism and mechanical gadgets, do you think that this water scarcity problem would be much of a problem? What's your take on that?
Well, for me personally, take for example, skip ahead 15 years. In 15 years, we would probably have a very, very advanced technology. Maybe we could have something that could trap rainwater and instantly convert it to edible water. So all those rains, those sea waters, all of those can be filtered instantly into drinkable water. So that is why we need to believe in the future.
Okay, thank you very much for answering all my questions. I believe you have some questions for me.
I do. So for my first question, um, what do you think are the main consequences of water stress condition?
Well, by defining water stress as a condition where water is highly wanted and there is a lack of water, I believe that this is a big issue. The consequences is huge. Why? Because water is a basic necessity. Water consists of about 70% of our body, and it consists of, without water, we can't live for a long time. So, how I would define it, the consequences in the terms of society, I feel that people would be arguing over water. I feel that society itself will crumble. Why? Because when we're facing with such a basic surface level of necessity, our carnal desires start to materialize. We start being such as animals. We no longer are civilized. We tend to be more violent, thus creating a much dangerous situation for our society. So the consequences that I take it from it is the consequences of society crumbling down. Next, please.
Very interesting answer. So, Haris, for my second question, for you personally, how did you contribute to water stress condition?
Thank you for that very intimate question. Well, I have actually a very bad experience with this. Why? Because when doing house chores, one of my house chores is washing the dishes. And what I tend to do is, while I'm soaping all the dishes up, I tend to leave the water running. This is somehow because to wash away the leftovers or just to keep me without silence. However, that is a huge waste of water. So in particular, that is how I contribute to water stress, and I need to change that. I hope that answers it.
Okay. So, third question. Now, say we look into 10 years in the future with the constant danger of water stress condition. So, in 10 years, what percentage of the world do you think will be affected by this problem?
According to the statistics and according to the videos that we watch, in about 10 years or 9 years, it's going to be about 66.66% or two-thirds of the population will be in a water stress condition. Imagine that. Imagine all of the people, the majority of the population will be in water stress condition. So the answer would be two-thirds of the population.
Okay. And next question. How do we cope with lack of water?
Excuse me, could you repeat the question again? It wasn't clear.
So, how can we cope with the lack of water?
Well, this question has been asked many times actually. We right now are being in a water scarce condition. Not our country particularly, but many other countries. How do we cope with this? There's many ways. I would like to explain some. Basically, we could use our natural environment, such as the rain. We can always catch the rain when it's falling and store the rain, not just don't use it, or when it stops raining and there's water, abundance of it, you just throw the water out. No, we must use and recycle it. Another thing that is very important is conserve. Conserving water is very important, more than just acquiring more water. Even if we had a lot of water, but we use it wastefully, it's gonna be depleted. So what we must do is find ways to conserve more and more water, such as using technology or many other ways to conserve water and use less water. Don't be wasteful about it. I believe that those two ways may help in coping with lack of water.
Okay. So next question. What are the main components of a soap and their effects on the environment?
From what I've learned, soap has a few components that are not toxic and don't hurt the environment, but also some that are not biodegradable and causes harm to the environment. One would be our most common element, which is sodium chloride, or what we know as table salt. Table salt tastes very good in our food in moderate amounts. However, it's not good for plants, such as if we want to use wastewater from, say, our showers to water our plants, we can't. Why? Because the water in the soap has the sodium chloride in the soap has mixed with the water. And what does salt have effect on the plants? Salt causes plant to brown. It causes the plant to have a reaction where the part of the leaf would browning and they would die. So it would harm the plant itself. Next would be EDTA. It is a very common product in the cosmetic industry. It is actually a preservative. This preservative will cause the eutrophication of water. This eutrophication of water will make more and more increase in algae production. What happens if algae production increases? Well, algae production will lessen the oxygen component in the water. And what that happens? What happens? Well, the aquatic life will be in danger. They don't have enough oxygen to survive. Thus, they will be in harm and die. So those are the few components of soap that will harm the environment.
Very good. So last question for you. What are some changes in your daily lives that you can use in order to conserve water?
A few daily changes that I would make personally to my life would be to conserve. Why? I believe that I live a privileged life in terms of water. I believe that I don't have to worry about water, such as other countries does. So I believe that I must change that, such as when I come across an open tap, I must close it, or say when I'm in the bathroom, I just don't leave the water excessively. Particularly what you said about toothbrushing. I must change how I brush my teeth. Why? Because as you said, when I brush my teeth, I also leave the water running. So that must be changed. So the main aspect that I would change in my daily life would be to conserve.
So I think that's all from me. I believe you don't have any more questions as well.
No?
So I believe we can wrap this session up. It has been fun talking to you.
Thanks.
Thank
It's
you.
been